It's time to find out
What Shane
said with Shane Manila.
Hey world, thank you for checking in to episode 3 of Shane Says. Hey, let's just jump right into it. So I've been on KTC playing around as, I'm wont to do. And I just noticed a couple players that I think I'd like to sell, trade away at a max value. I believe they're max value. I can't imagine their value gets any higher, but it could be wrong, right? Could be wrong. Should probably acknowledge that. But right off the bat, first player that I saw that really struck a chord with me, Jonathan Taylor, running back 5 overall, dynasty running back 5. Feels super inflated to me. I truly don't think he should be that high. He is a running back, so obviously I'm always trying to sell running backs high anyway. There's a few that I won't sell, but we'll get to that later. JT is not one of those dudes. So it's not enough to know that you want to trade a player, right? Anyone can tell you to trade a player high. You see it on Twitter all the time. Sell so-and-so high, sell so-and-so high, sell so-and-so high, but never who to sell them for, how to make the trade. So what I did is I went to the DLF Trade Finder, and I also went to the Dynasty Daddy Trade Finder. A lot of Trade Finder tools out there. You should hit them up, give you some ideas. First trade I saw that caught my eye was Jonathan Taylor for CeeDee Lamb, straight up. I really don't understand the thinking there. CeeDee Lamb is the wide receiver 2 in Dynasty Football per KTC. Even if you think he's 3rd, 4th, 5th, I don't believe he is. But if you do think he's that low, I think that's an absolute smash. You want to go ahead and try to trade Jonathan Taylor for CeeDee Lamb, or really, apparently, any wide receiver in that range. Don't tell me it can't happen. Don't tell me it's a trash trade offer, because I'm looking at this trade. Really happened. Jonathan Taylor for CeeDee Lamb. Next trade I saw, Jonathan Taylor for Puka Nacua. Again, Jonathan Taylor's fine, replaceable running back. Puka Nacua, 17.1 fantasy points, probably a little more than that, actually. 17.5 fantasy points per game in his rookie season. Even if his numbers dipped with Cooper Kupp there, I think they dipped to about 14 or so points per game, maybe a little more. Even if they dipped, 14 points as a rookie at wide receiver is pretty insane. You check out the cohorts, just go on StatHead, one of my favorite sites. You go on StatHead, just look at their rookie wide receivers that have scored 14 points during their rookie season and look at what they've done going forward. Most of them have turned out to be very, very, very good fantasy assets. Puka Nacua is not your thing. CeeDee Lamb's not your jam for somehow. I don't know why. Somehow CeeDee Lamb is not your jam. It rhymes. Probably not a good poem there, but either way, CeeDee Lamb's not your guy. Puka's not your guy. How about Garrett Wilson? I know there's a lot of love for Garrett Wilson, right? He's the wide receiver 7 on KTC. There's a trade here: Jonathan Taylor and Jameson Williams for Tyler Algier and Garrett Wilson. Absolutely smashed that Garrett Wilson side. Again, I'm not going to belittle Jonathan Taylor. He's a running back. He's replaceable. He is a fleeting asset. Garrett Wilson, young wide receiver. We assume there's going to be some production increase next year with Aaron Rodgers stepping back on the field, assuming he's not the vice president of the United States of America at that time. Assuming he's not, he'll be playing football for the Jets, throwing the football to Garrett Wilson. So I truly expect Garrett Wilson to see an increase in scoring next year. I don't know if we'll see an increase in value. Wide receiver 7 is pretty good. And we've got some young wide receivers right behind them that if they have good rookie seasons, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas, if these guys come out and have fire rookie seasons, it's possible that they could jump Garrett Wilson, even if Garrett Wilson has a really good year, and I expect him to have a good year. Real quick, Jameson Williams. How does that gentleman have any value in dynasty leagues still? That's not a rhetorical question. Like, I'm literally asking you. If you could jump in the comments, give me a reason as to why Jameson Williams, after 2 very bad seasons, yes, he was injured, I understand, and he only played a few games his first year, still counts. Very bad. Also very bad last year. I know he had a really good playoff game. I still don't understand why he would have any value. Real quick, go look at JMO's stats in his rookie season. Look at his stats in his second season. Look at that trajectory. Hell, go on the Trinity score on destinationdevy.com. Make sure you're signed up. Check out the Trinity scores. See what you see there. Does that tell you JMO's going to be good? If it does, throw that in the comments. I don't get why where the love for Jameson has, why it still persists. Like I said, my dude has had 2 very, very bad seasons. I don't see anything there, but if you can get any value for him, good for you. Apparently you can, because I have seen him trade it for seconds in many leagues. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. People value him, so that's fine. They want to value him, go for it. So another running back caught my eye, and you're going to notice theme. A lot of running backs that I'm going to talk about, or mostly running backs. I'm not going to talk that long. We'll keep this short and brief. Another running back, Saquon Barkley, joining the Philadelphia Eagles. That dude should be absolutely fire this year, right? Dude scored almost 16 fantasy points per game last year, joining a much better offensive line and a much better offense in the Eagles. I don't want to get into the fact that Jalen Hurts is going to take some of that rushing work. Jalen Hurts is going to take rushing touchdowns. But for whatever reason, let's just say I don't believe Saquon Barkley is going to be a long-term elite asset, even if he might pop next year. So again, anyone can tell you to sell high. What can you sell him for? I checked out DLF. My favorite trade, I think, was Saquon Barkley, Jaden Reed, the 207, the 301 for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And what I love about this even more, this is a start 9 league. Start 9 leagues, obviously you want hammers. So basically, this is almost Amon-Ra for Saquon Barkley straight up. I understand the other assets, I do. Maybe you could take Jaden Reed in that 207, tier up to another wide receiver. And I actually like Jaden Reed a lot. I just don't know that he's going to be anything more than a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3. Whereas Amon-Ra, even if they add competition, like, I don't know, a Jameson Williams to that team, Amon-Ra is still going to be a top 5 wide receiver. He's shown that's what he is over several seasons. He's consistently been that. Another trade I saw, and I love this trade too. I went on Dynasty Daddy. Josh Jacobs in the 204 for Saquon Barkley in the 309. Love that deal. Again, on the Josh Jacobs side, in case you're wondering, he moved up a full round and a half in the draft. You got a similar running back to Saquon Barkley, if not one that could probably outproduce him next year. So I'm just saying, not bad at all. Oh, I got a new favorite. I keep saying I have a new favorite league trade, but each one of these trades is just awesome. Whoever made these trades, if you made these trades and you're watching this video, let me know, man. Maybe I'll send you some merch. Probably not, but maybe. Last trade on the Saquon side, good side. There's one bad one I want to talk about. Someone gave up the 102, 209, 210 for Saquon Barkley. This was not a start 1 quarterback league. This was not a start 9 league. This was either a super flex or a 2 QB league. You gave up the 102 for Saquon Barkley. Regardless of, even if you agree with me that whoever you get at 102, if it's a quarterback, is going to be worth more than Saquon Barkley, assume you make that trade and you didn't want to make the pick, that 102 is still more fungible than Saquon Barkley. One trade I did see, not a fan of, really not a fan of, is someone traded Saquon Barkley for the 208 and 212. And they made this trade on the 4th of March, which I believe was before the NFL legal tampering period. So that means someone knew that Saquon Barkley was going to be signing somewhere that was probably going to give him a lot of money. Obviously, it was going to be on a team that was going to give him a lot of work. I believe it was before the tampering period. If it wasn't, that makes it even worse. Again, it's the 14th today when we're recording this. So hit me up. Like I said, I don't understand that trade at all. You should be selling high on Saquon Barkley. And this is just why I wanted to talk to you a little bit about too. We got through some players. I just want to throw some theory at you. Figured we'd get you wet your tongues. I don't know, with some player takes. And then we could just jump into some theory. Even if you don't value a player, it's important to understand how the rest of the market values that player. It's simple. That simple. Like I said, when I told you the first episode, I'm not going to give you any groundbreaking ideas, but sometimes we do lose sight of that. We don't like a player and we decide that that player is not valuable. That's the wrong take. We might not like a player for whatever reason. We don't like them because we think they're overvalued. We don't like them because we think they're not going to produce next year. What we need to understand and what we need to capitalize on is the difference in the market, understanding that other people are going to value that player in a certain way. And that's why I like KTC. I go to KTC all the time. I hear people trashing KTC all the time. And personally, I think that is wrong-headed. I think that is myopic. And I think that is simple-minded. Because KTC is just a tool. It's a tool. It's a barometer of what the community feels. Now, it might not be exactly what your league feels or how your league feels about a player, but it's a general consensus on how people feel about a player. So to me, that's a great tool. Use it for that. You don't have to use it as gospel. You don't have to say, well, KTC has Puka Nacua ranked as wide receiver 6. Therefore, he's my wide receiver 6. Don't use it in those terms. Just use it as a barometer so you can understand and see how the market feels about a player and if you should try to move off that player. Saquon Barkley, like I said, running back 9 overall on KTC. Jonathan Taylor, running back 5 on KTC. I do not value those players at that price. I am trying to move those players. But again, just because I don't value them at that price doesn't mean that other people in my league don't. Also brings me back to a topic from last week. I want to make a little bit of a mea culpa. Wasn't on this show. It was on another show. Dynasty Trades of 5. We were talking about Kyle Pitts. I was a little bit hyperbolic. I'm going to admit that now. A little bit hyperbolic when I was talking about how unvaluable he is or how much I don't want him. At one point, I might have noted that Juju Smith outplayed him last year, which in hindsight, probably not a great comment because, well, it's not true. Although Juju Smith did put up more elite weeks than Kyle Pitts. Either way, what I realized and what I took away from that is I should have known that people like Kyle Pitts and Kyle Pitts has value. I didn't respect that value. And I talked about him in a way that made him sound like he wasn't valuable. Kyle Pitts has immense value. And what makes it even worse on my end, on my part, and take heed of this, I knew Kyle Pitts' situation was going to improve literally the next week. I knew he was getting a quarterback. And really, if I would have used my brain, I would have known that 6 months ago. I would have known that after 6 weeks of Desmond Ridder, 7 weeks of Desmond Ridder, that Kyle Pitts' situation was going to improve next year, the year after, not 2025, but in 2024, from 2023, if you followed that. So that was my mistake. I apologize. I was a little harsh on Kyle Pitts. Most importantly, not the player take. That's not what I'm really down on. It's the process of not understanding or not valuing a player at a certain level and thinking that the market feels the same way. Again, check the market. You know, I said I would take Tank Dell over him in a 1.75 tight end premium. Also wrong. Really not a great idea. And this isn't just hindsight because he got Kirk Cousins. Again, we knew he was getting another quarterback. That's my short-sightedness. My mea culpa. My bad. Now, last week I also talked about JSN on this show. No mea culpa is to be had there. 100% correct. Spot on. Even if people disagree with me. The data is what the data is. I know I use it very binary. I don't take context into account because, frankly, you could do that with any player. You could talk about reasons as to why things will get better, and they won't. I'm not smart enough to parse that, so I'm not even trying. All right, back to some player takes. I appreciate everyone taking that little siesta. That's a nap, so that's the wrong word. A couple other players that the market is probably a little bit higher on, or at least I think the market might be warming up for at least, if not hotter than, is literally any running back that just signed. Josh Jacobs should be a dude that you're looking to sell. Devin Singletary should be a player that you're looking to sell. What you want to do is try to move them for another running back, slightly above any running back on a 53, because I do want some production out of these players. I'm trying to get some comparable production to a certain degree and get an extra asset so I can then use that extra asset in season to buy another spot start. So if you don't have JT or Barkley on your team, not everyone does, trade any other running back except, unless you get an absolute haul, Bijan, Brees, CMC, Kyron, Gibbs, or a chain. That's it. That's the list. Those dudes are super elite. New term. Those dudes are hammers. Those are the dudes that can win you weeks. Unless I'm getting actually paid on those dudes, I'm not letting them go. So if you have lesser assets on your roster, though, let's say James Cook, can you move James Cook for Tony Pollard and a second? James Cook and a third for Tony Pollard and a second is probably more reasonable. Or can you do it the other way around? Because quite frankly, I don't care about the names. Find the player that's in that tier that's the hot name. James Cook, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Jaylen Warren. All these guys are in the mix somehow. What you should do is every time there's a free agent signing, drop that John, the tweet into your league chat. Sit back, take the comments in, see who's high on a player. Let the league tell you, see if you can sell high on them. All right, that's it. Really wanted to keep it simple this week. Shout out to Jay Rich. Shout out to everyone that watched this. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you didn't, my apologies. We're trying to keep these brief. If you want me to go longer, I can do that too. But I just wanted to hit some player takes. Just to recap. Yeah, really nothing new, right? I'm just selling running backs all day. But the same holds true for wide receivers. If there's wide receivers that you feel the market is much higher on than you, make that sale, dude. Make that sale or do that. I don't want to be sexist. So either way, I appreciate you all. Everybody have a great, great week. Thank you.